Welcome to Coming In Hot. Thank you live from Airplay Beach for the intro music. We are recording live from Darling New Media Studios in Sac. Now, for our season 2 premiere, we got the biggest guest on this one. We got Joe Blanton. And let me tell you a little bit about this guy. You might know him. You know, his signs are all around here. You know, he's in commercial real estate, Capital Rivers. But this guy right here, all you food truck guys that listen to this show Coming In Hot, this is the guy that you got to thank for getting you into those streets and being able to park and being able to do all the shit that you do on a daily basis. This guy worked his ass off for that next generation of food trucks. If you don't know who the hell I'm talking about right now, we talking about Joe Blanton of Krush Burger, the pioneer of the food trucks in Sac. What up, Joe?
What's up, Cecil? Hey, that was I really appreciate that. You came strong with that one. But
hey,
man. It was no joke back in the day, though. Those were some long. I tell that story about every week. I think, like when we first started, my day began at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it ended like at about 1 o'clock the next day in the morning. And I would like have just enough time to like run home and like maybe catch a couple hours of sleep, and it was back to the grind again. So yeah, those were good days. Those were good days.
I remember when I first started, it was something like that. You know, you get up in the morning, you go to Cash and Carry or Restaurant Depot, and then you get on the truck, you start prepping, then you got that first shift, and then you got that second shift. Maybe you might stop somewhere in between just to, you know, get a couple dishes out, you know, and then you go to your dinner spot. And maybe sometimes you have the late night spot. So sometimes you're just out, you know? So I want to take it back though, Joe. Like, are you originally from Sac?
Originally from the East Bay. So my parents moved quite a bit. Actually, one time I was like 5 or 6 years old, and we moved like literally a block down the street. And at like 5 or 6, you're like, Mom or Dad, like, what are we doing here? You know, what is this about? So Concord, Walnut Creek area is where I grew up, but I actually went to high school out in Brentwood in Northern California, back when it was just cornfields. Graduated from Liberty High School, but I've been in Sacramento since probably since around 2000 or so.
And we do got something in common. Like when I was growing up, we actually moved 2 houses down. Like we were in a rental, and then my parents bought the house a couple houses down. So yeah, I know that feeling where you're just like, wait, hold on, like we were just right here, now we're over here. So
yeah. You know, pack up my room to move a block. What's this about? Right? So, yeah.
Yes, I remember one of those moves. Yes. So, Krush Burger. Why? Because you're a chef, and then, but food trucks aren't what they are right now. Why the hell did you go grab a food truck and start making burgers out of this? Because back then it was just roach coaches, you know, like you'll see them at construction sites. You'll see them, you know, if you had work project, like I had a few times in life, you know, you got the roach coach there, you know. Why go from the kitchen and then go into this market that nobody in Sacramento was doing it like you guys were doing it? What was the reason behind this, Joe?
Yeah, I think the real reason is so I had a partner, Dave, and we started Krush Burger together. The reason is we didn't know what we were getting into.
Were you checking out like the food trucks in like LA? Because they are, I think Koji came out, like 2006 or something like that, and he was just tweeting where he'll be, and there'll be lines all the way down the block. Was that something that you had your ear to, that you're
Yeah,
watching?
yeah, we were definitely watching what they were doing down in Los Angeles, and Kogi was an example. I mean, I think the simple answer is like, David and I, we had some money to start Krush Burger, but we didn't have like a lot of money to like build out a restaurant, and we just thought it would be a good opportunity for us to get in relatively inexpensively and to like float the idea that we thought was really cool, but like, hey, let's put it in a food truck and see if it sticks. And we were fortunate. We were very aware, because when we were having, David and I would meet like once a week at a Starbucks off of Greenback, because David was actually the corporate chef for Guy Fieri. So he would kind of sneak away. I think Monday might have been his day off, but anyways, we'd meet once a week. But we were very aware about trying to be the first, like what we called at the time, new era food truck in Sacramento, because we thought if we could be the first, we'd get a lot of media attention, which turned out to be the case. And that really helped us, basically propel us into the market and get a lot of good favorable media, and a good start. So yeah, we were looking at what they were doing down in Los Angeles. We didn't see anything up here, and we're like, hey, let's give this a shot.
Yeah. And why burgers?
So it's funny, because when we were meeting at Starbucks, like we didn't start out like, hey, we're going to create Krush Burger. Like we were talking about doing barbecue. We were talking about maybe, pizza, barbecue. Like both David and I really like barbecue, but as you know, and a lot of your guests will probably know, is like, you got to get up really early to like get the barbecue going, right? So we're like, nah, forget that.
You got to stay up at night.
Nah, yeah, not. So I think ultimately the burger, like both David and I really love burgers, and David at his culinary school, one of his projects, he had this idea of doing like mini burgers. And so we just thought, okay, that's something a little bit unique, and they're portable, so it goes with like the mobile food. And so we just started running with that and we used my house as our test kitchen, where we developed like all of our sauces and everything. And so I think ultimately we sat on burgers because it was a little easier to execute out of the truck. And we thought, we love burgers. And then we had the mini burger idea, where we could put enough of a unique spin on burger to kind of make it our own.
Yeah. And you had, how many different types of burgers did you have when you started?
When we first started, it was ridiculous. So we always had like four. We didn't know what we were doing, right? Getting on a food truck. David and I were both used to cooking out of like regular restaurant kitchens.
Yeah, no propane.
Had, yeah.
You learned that real quick.
I think we had like 4 or 5 styles of burgers. But what we had also is we had a beef option, we had a buffalo option, we made our own vegetarian patty at the time when we first started. And we had 2 different types of buns. And so you could imagine when we get tickets in, it was like, I'll have an OG with beef, no onions, and then I'll have a cowbell on buffalo and a wheat bun. There was just like way too many. And to add insult to injury, like we had salads too. So we're like, it was a mess. So
you're being chefy, because when I started Cecil's Taste, that's exactly what I did. I'm like, I'm doing everything that I couldn't do in this restaurant. I'm going to do it on this food truck until you light that damn pilot and nothing happens.
Done. No, I mean, yeah. No, so yeah, we completely, our menu was way too big. And so like in a short time, like we got rid of the wheat buns. At the time, the vegetarian patty, the veggie option wasn't a thing. So we got rid of that, the buffalo. We basically just got down to like our beef patty. And then we would do like what we called featured burgers. And so every now and then we'd introduce another protein. But yeah, no, we got our menu right-sized relatively quickly, because our ticket times were horrendous. Like it was like people would wait like 45 minutes for a burger. It was not sustainable. It was crazy.
Yeah, oh man, that story just brought me back to those first days of Cecil's Taste. It's got this huge menu, this little fryer. I don't know, did you have the truck fryer when you first got there? The one that was like kind of this suspended, and there was really no like bottom to it, and it was
Exactly. We had it was Weiss was the manufacturer.
Weiss, yep.
Yeah, so that's what we were doing. It was in like we had a 36-inch grill, and like half of it got hot enough to actually cook a burger. The other half we had used for like to toast the buns. And so all the challenges everyone else had, we had starting out.
So started like again, like starting out, like where were you guys going? Like what was your mentality? What was your plan when, like, all right, we got this. Where'd you get the food truck from?
Yeah, we found it, and we ended up finding one in Elk Grove. Okay. It was a taqueria truck previously. That's a whole nother story, but like we would go into some pretty sketch areas, like searching for our food truck. We ended up finding like one that was in good condition out of Elk Grove, and then just rehabbed it. But as far as like locations go, the first day we opened was on Fulton Avenue, and at the time it was I think the Audi dealership was actually on Fulton at the time. Mm-hmm. And so that was our first location. So we would go to business owners on like busy streets and basically ask them if we could like park our truck there. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we would do, because at the time there were still some like ordinances down in Sacramento, mm-hmm. in the city proper that were prohibitive to like our style of cooking. And because we couldn't just, we weren't grab and go, like, so we couldn't park downtown properly. Mm-hmm. So we would partner with businesses or go to large employment areas with high density office. Like in Rancho Cordova, there was a site that I think it still might be, I forget what street it's on. It's been a while, but
White Rock.
Yeah, White Rock. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's White Rock. Yeah, so like a lot of they still sustain themselves today. A lot of these original locations, and it was just a lot of like trial and error. There were some mm-hmm. locations that worked, and there were quite a few locations that didn't work. But it was just that, beyond like all of what you were mentioning before, just like the day-to-day going to cash and carry, going to the bank to get cash, all of these other things, like we were having to like basically find locations there was no, Sac-Do Mofo at the early stages didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So we were just like making calls and doing a lot of work trying to like figure out like, hey, where are we going to park this thing? So
yeah, so one of the things that you kind of mentioned was the parking, and you couldn't park downtown. Talk to us, because we had Paul on here earlier, and he said, like there's an ordinance on food trucks not being able to park downtown, and you guys teamed up, and is this before the big first Sac-Do Mofo event, or is that where you guys met, or was it a little bit after? How did because you guys went to war with restaurants in Sacramento over parking, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I'm always like, this is the dude that made it happen for all you other guys, and I don't even think most of the people know, especially the new trucks coming out right now. They don't know nothing about Krush Burger, and we'll get into where you guys are now later. But how did you even know that you couldn't park down there? And how did you hook up with Paul and, go to war for the food trucks?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't learn that we couldn't park down there until code enforcement showed up and told us that, like, some restaurateur had like called us in. And yeah, it became early on. I think the restaurants were, at the time we opened during the Great Recession, if you want to call it that. Right. Mm-hmm. so restaurants were struggling. I think they didn't really, it just like so many things. If you don't know about something and you don't really understand it, you view it even more as a threat. And so restaurants thought that that we were going to cannibalize their business, where it turns out that, like, if you're respectful, we never parked like directly in front of restaurants or close to restaurants. We did a really good job of staying free and clear of restaurants, but still they looked at us as a complete threat. And code enforcement, they had deeper pockets and ties with the political folks at the city. So code enforcement was basically following us all the time of where we would go. So we really couldn't operate down there. And I think we just got, at one Sacto Mofo, Paul came online, we started a conversation, and then we just started Paul fortunately had political connections at the city. And so together we started basically talking with those folks and kind of like explaining, who we are, what we do. Hey, we're complementary. We can be complementary. We can coexist with restaurants. Because I remember, like, especially in the winter months, like, our guests would come to our truck and and they're basically outside in the elements. It's cold, it's raining. And that's a completely different, like, dining experience than like going into somebody's restaurant, right? You're either like down with like eating your food in the rain on the sidewalk, or I'm going to go in where it's nice and warm and I can sit at a table. So it was always, I tried to talk with, and it wasn't all restaurant people, by the way, too. So it's easy to put everybody in a bucket. Randall Selland actually was a big proponent of what we were doing and helped us quite a bit. The big initial Sacto Mofo and food truck, forget what Paul used to call it. But anyways, the first big food truck event in Sacramento was at 16th and I Streets at Fremont Park. And Randall Selland actually, during the festival, he like got out and talked and basically said, hey, like, we can all coexist, and like, this is a way, food trucks are a way for people, for chefs or for business people with a good idea to kind of like see, is it basically as entrepreneurial as you can get, right? So he was a big help and a big proponent. But yeah, so Paul and I, and then as other trucks came online, we basically like would meet with city officials, and eventually we were able to get them to change the ordinances, and we were able to find a way to coexist.
No, that was, man, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I never knew the Randall Sellens piece. I kind of grouped them into everybody else, because when I came around in 2014, it was still, we couldn't go anywhere downtown unless there was like a Mofo event or concert in the park or something like that. It had to have a permit along with it for us to do anything downtown. But now it's the 100-foot rule. And like you said, we were never disrespectful. Like, if we like, we'll go down the street in downtown, but go all the way towards the jail or something like that, and just post where we are. I think, like, a lot of restaurateurs back then, they didn't understand that part. Just like you said, you put it so greatly, is that we're not the same as a sit-down restaurant. Like, if you're going to a food truck, you really want that food, because we're in Sacramento, so one day it'll be 110, the next day it'll be 55 and raining. You know what I mean? So
I didn't even talk about the summer months when it's like 110 out. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You really gotta want Krush Burger if you're gonna be outside. It's 110.
Yeah, exactly. So you can only imagine what it feels like inside that bitch, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. One time, on that note, we were out in front of CalPERS, and Casey, it was like, I don't know, it was like probably 110, 112 outside. Inside the truck, it was a lot hotter than that. And KCRA 3 like knocked on my back door, They're like, hey, we're doing a piece on like, hot jobs in the hot weather. Can we come in the food truck and film? And I was like, I don't think so. Because all I could see is like, the next day or that night on KCRA, like look at this is Krush Burger and the inhumane, labor practices and all of this stuff.
Oh man, the cheese on the cutting board.
So yeah, yeah. So exactly, yeah. Like the food truck experience and the restaurant experience are two different things for the
Totally
for
different. Sure. And like you're just like me, like you come from this restaurant and you get into the food truck and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like especially with the type of truck you have. My first truck, same thing. It's made for one person. It's made for one person taking orders and one person cooking. So you put anybody else into that small space, you're gonna be touching places and
everybody gets to know each other. Really
everybody gets to know each other really well in the food trucks, especially the old school ones. All right, so Krush Burger, first food truck. What did you think when you start seeing, Drewski's come about, Chandos, and then after that you got that second wave, Bacon Mania, and Culinarity. I think he was Papa Dale's back then. Like what were you thinking? Were you happy? Were you like, damn, there's competition? Like what was your mindset? Because we're gonna talk about you scaling after this, because I think when I came around 2014, you guys were kind of inching your way out of the food truck scene. So what did you think about when you start seeing, Chando's Drewski coming your way, and then you start getting into the burger trucks like Papa Del and Bacon Mania and those guys?
Yeah, we honestly never like we were grateful that like there were more trucks coming online. We didn't really view them as direct competition. Like David and I always have the mindset that like if we do what we're supposed to do and we're good operators, we serve a good product and we do it consistently well. We basically take care of what we need to take care of. That there's always going to be opportunity for us. And so with these additional trucks like Drewski's and Chandos originally, it helped. We viewed it as like definitely an asset, because then there was more trucks out there basically going, because one of the things that we had to do early on is we would go up against the typical stereotype of like the old roach coaches and things of that sort. So the more of these new era quote unquote trucks that came online, it just helped like tell the story that, hey, food trucks aren't what they used to be and that they're different now. So that was very helpful. And we were, and we found out honestly that when we congregated together and created more of like a destination where our guests could like either sample different items from all of our trucks, that we would grow more of a following to those locations. So yeah, it definitely was complimentary.
And back then, were you guys wrapping your trucks? Did you have the vehicle wraps already?
Yeah, even on our 1970s food truck, we put a wrap on it. So some of the like diamond plate on the exterior came through, but yeah, we were always wrapping it.
Okay. And so you're going strong, and then you get this opportunity. Did you build out your commissary first, or did you get the lottery building first?
No, we built our commissary out first. So David and I, because we came from restaurants, we really saw a lot of value in kind of having our own place where we could do some food prep. And so we actually built out our commissary. We never operated out of Thias or Ramona, which were the only two options at the time. So we had a place on North 10th Street that we built out. I think Game Day Grill might operate out of there today.
Yeah, I believe they do.
So yeah, we wanted to be able to also kind of like be able to receive some deliveries like a typical restaurant would as well, to kind of ease up on like the day-to-day purchasing activities. So we started the commissary right out of the gate. We always had the commissary with our original food truck. And then I think so that was 2010. And I think we opened up the Lottery building like in 2012. So a couple of years later, we got the opportunity because the Lottery was just across the street pretty much. And we got word that they were looking for a food operator to be on the ground floor. And so we put in like a proposal, and then we ended up getting accepted. And that turned out to be a really good way for us to get our foot in the door on a traditional brick and mortar location.
All right. And then Roseville.
Yeah, so it was Sacramento, and then we get a call like on our food truck from a gentleman that said, I want to open Krush Burger in Dubai.
And I get these phone calls all the time, Joe.
All the time.
I get them all the time. Was it a hang up, or was it, like what?
We thought it was, we honestly thought it was like somebody from Drewski or Chanda, like calling. So we had a few different phone calls with this gentleman. And then long story short, it was right as when we opened our Sacramento location, this gentleman flew out from Dubai, showed up unannounced, spent about 2 weeks here in Sacramento. So at the end of the day, we're like, well, one, we know nothing about Dubai. Two, we don't even know if we can pull it off. So, we're interested, but you got to fly us over there so we can see if this can work. And we ended up, he bought us plane tickets, and we flew over there. And, it turns out, Cheesecake Factory was there. Macaroni Grill was there. So all the infrastructure and distribution was already in place. And Krush Burger, we would make everything like scratch. So we were using whole ingredients. So we could pretty much source the majority of our menu already from what existed there. We just ended up having to import a few different items, which was like an interesting learning process for us. So we ended up, I think we partnered in Dubai before the Roseville location opened. But yeah, so Dubai, from food truck to to right across the street to the Lottery building to Dubai, like why not, right?
Yeah. So and he opened up like 2 right away, right? It wasn't like just a one-off. It was just like, let me get 2 of those. So,
right. Yes. So that spurred us to get our franchise documents, because we wanted to make sure we had a legitimate contract in place. And so the initial agreement was that he was going to have 3 locations. So he opened up a location in Dubai, opened up a location in Abu Dhabi, which is the neighboring city, and then opened up another one in Dubai that is a drive-through concept. And then today there's actually, with our original partner, so the agreement was they would have the territorial rights to all of the United Arab Emirates. And so today they have 5 operating Krush Burgers over there. So,
beautiful.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild story.
Yeah, I'm super jealous. I always tell you how jealous I am.
We're gonna get national property. I'm working on it.
I'm ready, baby boy.
I think I told you this. You might actually. That's okay. You already heard me. I said the more the merrier mindset. But they over there, like almost 50% of our burger sales are chicken options. So you get same styles like our OG or cowbell or Philly style, but with like a fried chicken burger instead of a beef. So they love chicken.
Yeah, I'm down. I am down. Hey, so you got the one location, Roseville, the Lottery buildings, no more, 5 in the United Arab Emirates. What else you got going with Krush Burger? What's the next move?
The next move is so we got something brewing here domestically that I can't quite talk about yet, with a pretty unique partnership that's pretty exciting. And then the other part is like I actually started like reaching out to other hospitality groups in the Gulf, in the GCC, the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, because we have all. I was talking to David like last week. We almost have like close to 10 years with our partner in the UAE, and so we've got a really good story to tell. They've been successful over there, so it just seems like natural to like try to like build our presence over there a little bit more in some of the other countries. And why haven't we done it is honestly we just haven't like focused on it. So that's kind of like what we're working on now overseas heavily. And then we are working on something here domestically, just a little premature to mention. So.
All right, always grinding over there.
Yeah.
And so we got the successful burger empire going on, and then you said, you know what, let me make my life a little bit harder and get into commercial real estate and deal with assholes like Cecil,
No.
So Capital Rivers commercial real estate, how the hell did you go from the food truck, our kitchens, you got Cisco in there somewhere, you're a rep, all the way
I think I just get
food truck to commercial real estate. All right, now I'm in commercial real estate. How you all over the place, Joe? You sound like me.
Yeah.
When you say it out loud,
sounds a little ridiculous. Yeah, I think we would just, I'm always go. So maybe we weren't opening enough Krush Burger locations. I got bored or something. So it's actually really complimentary. I'd say this is complimentary because, one, I look at, future Krush Burger sites a little bit differently than I had because I'm a little bit more experienced, but also just being able to as I work with a lot of restaurant clients, like help them find locations. And I think it helps me being a restaurant owner myself. I look at things a little bit, maybe differently, and I'm a little bit more sensitive to like the owner's needs, because I understand that like it's just not a deal. It's like this is somebody's like livelihood, and that they're going to sign like a long-term lease, and then they're probably going to spend like thousands, more likely hundreds of thousands of dollars to like improve this space that they don't even own, right? So I think there is some. It is all my experience with like working with Cisco Foods and then with Krush Burger. It is complementary to the commercial real estate part, because for a large part I do work with like restaurant owners like yourself and like help to, whether it's like independent restaurant owners that have one or a couple locations, or I do have some clients that have like 40 locations, and it's really rewarding because I can help them basically map out and be a part of like where they're going to grow their brand. And so that part's like really rewarding for me, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But yeah, it is. I do have like you a lot on my plate. But I mean, what are we gonna do, Cecil? I am not gonna like I'm not wired that way of just like sitting at home, like sitting on the couch. Every now and then I watch some baseball games and football games, and like it's fun, but like after 2 hours I'm like bored. So I think it's just the way we're wired.
Yeah, my wife, I always tell her, I'm like, I can't wait to get this thing just rolling, and I'm gonna be out, and I'm gonna be like in Fiji. So like your ass ain't doing nothing. You gonna be doing something else. You gonna be out there. She always calls me out on it. And I'm like, I'm gonna get about 5 of these going, then I'm done. She's like, nah.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest.
At least I'm trying. At least I said I'm putting it out in the ether. Yeah. So what are some of the differences and similarities of what you're doing right now to the food industry? Because you like you said before, you're kind of still in the realm because you're finding restaurants for people, but is there anything similar to what you're doing, right now to what you're doing in the restaurant?
As far as like, I'm not sure I was following, but as far
Oh,
as
just like, is there anything like, similar to, the real estate and the restaurant game that, like it was kind of seamless to, go from restaurant to real estate?
yeah, I mean, I think the whole part of like just acquiring the location is in hindsight, like when we were opening up Crush Burger locations, we had a good commercial broker that helped us out, but there was a lot of information that still I didn't know while we were going through the process. And so, some people don't want to know anything, but I think a lot of people like to understand like what they're really getting into and kind of
Mm-hmm.
like having a sounding board. So I think that helps with doing the real estate part. The fact that I can, like, I'll give you an example. So
Mm-hmm.
we opened up a location in Rockland, and we knew nothing about like what a sewer and impact fee is. Basically, the
Mm.
space we were going into was not a restaurant previously. And so typically when you go into a space that maybe operates as another business, but you're going to be operating a restaurant out of it, you get hit with a sewer and impact fee. In this case, it was like $50,000, like out of the blue, like we get hit with this fee. We were able to negotiate it down, but I think that's like one of the things like I learned at, building out restaurants that I try to share with my clients and try to like, at least make them aware of like, hey, there is such a thing as a sewer and impact fee thing. And let's address it. Let's see if we can get the landlord to maybe take care of that for you. Or if they can't take care of that for you, let's find a way to maybe help them reimburse some of those costs. So I think there's a lot of like synergy between working and owning Krush Burger and also helping other restaurant owners find locations, because for the most part, people aren't as crazy as like, you and me, and they just like stick with one thing and they just don't know. But I think that there's definitely a benefit because I've walked in their shoes, I've done what they're about to do or have done, and I can like again bring some experience to the table that maybe your typical person in commercial real estate, they just haven't experienced it before.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not as aware of it. So
Do you try to talk people out? Because I always try to talk people out of shit. Like, I just had all of our Calling All Dreamers contestants on here, and I truly do. I'm like, why? Like, why do you want to do it? Like, you're doing so well just in your little space. Like, why do you want to blow it up? Do you ever get like that and just be like, like you're about to spend your whole life savings on somebody else's building, like, and you've worked with me before.
yeah,
I'm like, I need everything, you know.
yeah. I don't ever. I call it crushing someone's dream. I don't I don't ever crush their dream. However, I do give them the full, honest, unfiltered, like this is what you're really getting into. Because I mean, if it'll be next year, I'll be married 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, like the first 2 years of starting Krush Burger, like I didn't see my wife, I didn't see my son, like ever, like really ever. And I think it was just that you're building a brand. There's no substitute for like being there. You can't be absent, right? You have to,
Mm-hmm.
and this sounds horrible, but you have to prioritize things. And
Yes.
unfortunately, when you start a business, sometimes that has to be the priority, and other things that should be the first priority have to take the back seat. So I tell it, I lay it all out, because there were, in those early years of Krush Burger, there were, I was just telling you, I'd get done like at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd be driving home, and I could tell by the tone of the text messages from my wife that things weren't like totally cool. So like there were certain nights I would be driving home, and I'm sure as shit that everything I own is on the front lawn in flames, because just most people don't like understand the attraction of just like working all the time on something. So yeah, and I explain that to people that like, hey, there you know the restaurant business is notorious for people going out of business within the first couple of years. And then the food truck, I always say this too on the food truck end, like food trucks in my opinion are 10 times more difficult to operate than a traditional brick and mortar location. You just have like so many moving parts in the food truck that I think get underestimated. It's a little bit different now maybe with like Sectomofos of the world, so I can set up the events, takes that piece off of your plate, but still I think there's a lot more there are more moving parts to operate a food truck successfully than a brick and mortar location. So yeah, I don't hold anything back, because if I don't scare them off, I guess, and they decide that they're gonna like stick with it, then maybe it's the right decision for them.
No, and that's the one thing, and just piggybacking off of what you and your wife are going through. Like I went through it too. It's one of those things where especially being a chef in general, you just have to get that out of the way first. You gotta, especially if they're not in the industry. Like my wife wasn't in the industry, and I had to like explain to her, like, yeah, I don't come home at 5. Like this doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like
I had many of those conversations when I was actually just cooking for somebody at a restaurant. My wife would ask me, hey, so what time are you going to be home? And early on, I made the mistake, I think I'll be home like about 10:30, 11. Never once was I home at that time. So finally, I was like, well, what time are you going to be home? I'm going to be home when I get home.
Yeah, and they don't like that either. No. They don't like that one either. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I was like, the fucking kitchen could catch on fire. Who knows? Like you can't. It's never the right answer, Right. And even when you do say that, it's still like for some reason it just doesn't click. Especially if you're dating somebody outside the restaurant industry. It's just they don't get it, and it's not for them to get. It's for the people that are in the restaurant industry to get, like, but you do have to, anybody out there that's listening, if you're single, just tell whoever you're dating, this is what I do. This is my life, and it will relieve a lot of anger, I guess you would say. Like,
yeah.
It won't always work, but it works 99.5% of the time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just the last on that, like, so I was fortunate to cook in New York City, and so a few years ago there was a article in the New York Times, basically the life of a cook in New York City, and I would start my day at 11 o'clock in the morning, and then it wouldn't end until, like, I think in New York we would serve up until like 11:30 in the evening. Then you clean the kitchen. We get out of there maybe like 1:30. Then everybody's so amped up, like you generally go out to the bars. And in New York City, the bars stay open a little later than they do here in California. And then you just get up and do it all over again. So it's definitely it's not, you see like the Food Network and it gets glamorized, the chef lifestyle. Like,
yeah. I watched a lot of food TV when I was coming up, just like a kid. I think when it was still food TV, it wasn't the Food Network, and I used to watch it all the time. And I never thought I would be a chef, just because my parents always say, chefs are alcoholics and drug addicts, and yes, I did become both, but I still got a life out of it too, but like it did glamorize it. And then when I went to culinary school, and the reason why CCA isn't around right now is because they did tell you that. They're like, yeah, you could be Bobby Flay. Why not? Yeah, after you're done with this, you're gonna be the executive chef of 4 Seasons Maui. Oh, cool. Yeah, I want to do this. And then you go through it, and they spit you out, and you just have like a $12 an hour job, or working for free. and you're living in San Francisco. So shit just didn't add. And this is back in 2005, Joe. So you can only imagine what my $1,200 a month one bedroom cost in the city right now. You know, it might be 10,000. You got your finger on the pulse, so you know you can look up 925 Gary, see how much those are going for now.
Yeah. That's the thing, like the nicer the restaurant, unless you're like the head chef, the lower the pay. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I staged, which is, worked for free at the French Laundry, fortunately. And I remember at the time I was living in Davis, I got home and the only thing open at the time was In-N-Out Burger in Davis. So I'm going through the drive-thru In-N-Out, and I don't know what year this was, but it was like they were still starting pay was like $9 an hour or something. And I literally, like, I was working for free, but had I took a position at the French Laundry of all places, I think my pay would have been like $4.50 an hour. You know? Just that, to your point, they don't tell you that in culinary school.
No.
Right? So.
they send you out to these places. Like, I didn't know what a stage was either. Like, I'm sure you knew, but I didn't know what a stage was. I was at Aqua, Michael Mina's first restaurant, and I was like, I just asked I think it was like a cook, and I was just like, hey, when do we get paid here? And they're like, aren't you a stage? I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh, you don't get paid. So I put my knife bag by the back door, and I didn't smoke cigarettes at the time, but I was told, like, the sous chef, hey, I'm about to go out back and smoke a cigarette. He's like, yeah, whatever. Grabbed my bag, never went back. I was 25 at the time. I needed to get paid.
Can't work for free.
No. Hey, but I want to do a real quick top 5, and then we'll get out of here with our coming in hot. But you're a traveler. I see you all around. Give me top 5 burger joints.
Ooh, top 5.
You can't say Krush Burger. We already know it's delicious.
Top 5. All right. Well, let's see here. I'll go. I still In-N-Out because I'm California, so I am an In-N-Out guy. So I'll say In-N-Out is good. Where else? I haven't been to the Brick House in El Dorado Hills, but there used to be Brick Yard, I believe. They had a killer burger in El Dorado Hills. Pangea in Sacramento.
Great
burger. Killer burger. That's 3. Let's see, 2 more. Maybe you're just gonna get 3. I'll think of one. I'll think of my 2 other ones, but those are the ones that come to mind right now.
All right, you're gonna have to text me that. I want to know. All right, so this is our last segment. This is our coming in hot segment. So this is your segment to get anything off your chest that you want to get. It could be political. We just had somebody over here talking about how face masks are the devil. You know, like it could be funny. It could be about burgers. It could be about anything that you want. So, Joe, it is time to come in hot. What you got?
Oh man, what am I gonna pick here? I'm gonna, you know what? Hold on one sec. I'm gonna think. It just popped in, but then it popped out. That's what happens when you get older. You know. Here's my rant.
Okay.
This is kind of a little bit restaurant, a little bit commercial real estate.
Okay.
So like every restaurant guy that I help find a location, they want to know what the former restaurant guy was doing in sales. And like, are you kidding me? If they were doing good sales, this space wouldn't be available for you. So what the hell are you talking about, right? Like, so there's nothing, and this is so common. Everybody, Joe, what are they doing? Or not what the old tenant was doing, but what the tenants next to them are doing. Like, I don't know. Are they good operators? Maybe they're good operators. Maybe they suck. And maybe that's why their sales are shit, right? So let me ask you, so the former tenant was doing $500,000 a year in sales when they should have been doing $1.5 million. They were a shitty operator. So are you planning on being a shitty operator? Because if you're planning on being a shitty operator, then maybe you shouldn't rent the space, So that is the biggest like pet peeve that I have in our industry is like it doesn't matter what somebody else was doing. Like what can you do,
Mhm.
right? Can you do it or not do it, you know?
Mhm.
And so that, yeah, you got me worked up. I came in hot there for you.
That was
I just
hot.
get so tired. Like, be confident, right? Like,
Just be confident in your brand. Be confident in what you're doing. Yeah, you're gonna take lumps around the road, down the road, but you know, especially right now, staff shortage. You know, like there's not too many people out there. You know, like even with me, you know, downtown, we're only open 5 days a week. It's not because I don't want to be open. You know, like 7 days. You know, 12 hours a day. I don't have the people. You know what I mean? I'm only one person in 6 different locations to, you know, be be watching over. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things right now where, you know, like just be that good operator, have your vision, stay with your vision. If you got a business plan, you know, the business plan is okay, but you're gonna have to be a little bit more strategic in how you go about these kind of things. You know, like especially right now, like you gotta have big balls to like. That's why I like these calling all dreamers, because they gotta be delusional first. They gotta have big balls second, because it is hard to open a damn business right now. You know what I mean? Like it's just especially if you're selling something too, like it's anything. You know, you got the ports backed up. Oh, I'm coming in hot now, so I'm just gonna stop. Joe, you got anything to plug, man? You know, your capital real estate, anything like that?
yeah, I mean, if anyone's, you know, needs help finding the locations, you know, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to help. I mean, we talked about it quite a bit, but you know, use some of my experience and some of my mistakes, and maybe don't let me help you not make the same. But I have you know, that's kind of it's pretty obvious, right? We love this industry. We love the food industry. So I'd be more than happy to help any restaurant folks out there looking for locations. I just genuinely enjoy doing that. So.
All right. And this is Chef Cease at Coming In Hot. If you want those delicious, beautiful, mouth-watering chicken sandwiches, www.nashandproper.com, at nashandproper, at nashandproper.eg, at Chef Cease. If you want to holler at me directly, please subscribe to everywhere that you listen to podcasts. I will see you next week. Love you. Peace.